This is my absolute favorite excursion here in Key West. Well, besides my company, Lazy Dog Adventures. But the Seaplane, anyone who comes to visit, I always take them out on the Seaplane to the Dry Tortugas. It is absolutely incredible. The Dry Tortugas is 70 miles west of Key West. It is one of the least visited national parks in the United States. After we checked in at the Seaplanes of Key West, we headed out onto the tarmac, loaded up on the plane, and took off from the Key West airport. The beginning of the flight took us down the coastline of Key West and then out into the shallow waters to begin our 25-minute flight over to the Dry Tortugas. We fly at about 500 feet. We each get a headset so the captain can communicate with us. He shares lots of information about what we're seeing out there. We pass over some other islands as well as lots of shallow water that you can see right through. You can see sharks, you can see rays, lots of turtles, and also some shipwrecks. About 25 minutes later, we come into our approach for landing at the fort. We get a nice view of the fort before we land, and I gotta tell you, landing on water is pretty epic, so if you ever get a chance, you must do this. We dock right at the beach, and then the captain helps us all out, and off we go. We get about 3 hours of our own self-guided fun time at the fort. We started by walking around all over the fort, inside the fort, all the levels, and all the way up top where you just get some epic views. Then we went over to the beach. We actually had the beach to ourselves. We went and did a little snorkeling. And then after that, we sat around and had a little lunch, my favorite. After a couple hours of exploring, we made our way back to the plane. We taxied out for a few minutes, got a great look of the fort from the water, and then we took off on the water, which was pretty epic. After takeoff, we flew another 2 miles to the west over to the lighthouse and got a view of that, and then circled back past the fort for one last view of the fort before we headed home. What's cool about the Dry Tortugas is that it's one of the least visited national parks in the United States. So not a lot of people go every day. It's primarily just because it's so far away, 70 miles west of Key West. So there is a boat trip called the Yankee Freedom that goes once a day. And then the Key West Seaplane Adventures heads out. They've got 2 planes and they do a couple trips each day. Most of these, whether you do the boat or the plane, they do book out really early. So I'm talking months ahead of time. You want to make your reservation. So get to the websites. I'll list them and get out there and have some fun. On the approach into Key West, we pass Sunset Key and head over the harbor. And you get to see a lot of Key West because the island's only 4 miles by 2 miles, so very scenic. And then we land at Key West Airport, not on the water, but at the airport. It was an absolute spectacular day. Like I said, this is like my favorite thing to do with anybody that comes to visit, or even just from heading out with some friends. But on this day, I got to spend with my sister, and it was pretty fun.